In this session, we're going to talk about results chains. What are results chains? They are essentially an attempt to try and give us common lens and language to be able to describe the kind of logic we have for the initiatives that we undertake. We've talked about spheres of influence and the things we can control, the things we can directly influence, and the things we indirectly influence. But it's helpful to give people the opportunity to have a framework to describe their story against that. Now, the chain or the results chain template that we're going to be using for this is something we've been trying for about the last 6 years at groups like the Canadian Cancer Society, and it's really borrowed from a chap named Claude Bennett, the Bennett hierarchy, that he popularized to some extent in the mid-70s. It also has amalgams in psychology, in sociology, in social marketing, and in communications theory. And you'll see that there are chains like this that apply in many, many fields. In our case, we're not just applying them to the target communities, we're also applying them to the co-delivery agents, if you like, the intermediary groups that we need to work with to get things done. And in every case, we're looking at this kind of a chain as a way of describing our progress with those groups. So that progress would start with the input level. What are we investing in our time, in our money, in our capital, for example, and how much does it cost? Moving from there, what are we offering? What are we delivering? What are our outputs? What are the things within our sphere of control that we are putting out there? And then that, of course, naturally starts to begin to get into the sphere of influence in terms of who we engage, how much we engage them, and in a way, how we engage them. What's the quality of the engagement? Who uses it, and how do they use it? Moving on from there, are people satisfied with the type of engagement, again, that we have? You can think of this in services, but also in terms of briefings and policy advice, in, again, more indirect communications or services, or even in regulations. It's not so much that people may be satisfied by being regulated, but are they satisfied with the way that the service was delivered? And moving from there, what can we see in terms of starting the change process in people and groups? Do we see changes in their knowledge, their attitude, their skill, and or their aspirations, their commitments? And then finally, do those link to actual behavior changes in these groups? This is why we've given you the bolded arrow here. We're talking about how, who, what, and why, but the key stop for us, certainly the Canadian Cancer Society and other key groups we worked with, is we think our key end of the sphere of influence chain is where we see behavior change. And that may mean, again, in target communities, they do things like stop smoking or take on better behavioral practices around their own health. But it also might be for intermediary groups that they have started to, for example, make better referrals or put in programming that will help their own people. So it's a behavior change level that we really are keying on, but with a chain linking to it that we can mark progress. And then finally, we have this high level key result area, which is the end result. How does that, for example, affect the burden of cancer, affect health, affect the environment, the economy, and so on? So we have this results chain that we've now instigated in pretty much everything we do to be able to describe as lens and language for our performance story.